Kyle here from All Media Reviews, here to do Albums of the Year 1992. Rough draft, of course, as I always say. Pretty kind of top-heavy year, you could say, overall, but if I got the numbers here correct. And, yeah, I didn't have too many, I didn't go over a lot of lists with this one. It's just been sort of on the back burner trying to get it done, a lot of these, so... the only one I don't have ranked, which I didn't get to listen to any of, or don't have familiar, is Nene Cherry's Homebrew. And there's probably some other stuff I'm missing, of course, that I'll see in the comments from Christian or whoever else. So, all right, I'm gonna go. I've been doing a little bit of tweaking and stuff on my list. So, starting at I guess it's number 34. I have Bruce Springsteen's Human Touch. I really think of it mostly for the title track. I mean, a couple of the other songs, 57 Channels, was it Pony Boy? You know, the thing is, this came on. The next one I've got is number 33, Lucky Town from Springsteen, which had Better Days and Local Hero. Those two albums came out the same day, I remember, on Columbia. But this is just Bruce Springsteen. It's not the E Street Band, like the previous record, Brilliant Disguise, which I don't think I had on my, whatever the year that was, 87 or 88. His music is different without the E Street Band, clearly, to me. And I just, at this point, listened to his catalog. I was so focused on the 70s and the, the early 80s stuff that, he was kind of getting... more singer-songwriter, the best way to put it, was like adult contemporary, doing kind of like southern rock, country, pop rock, or, folk. It wasn't really folkish. Anyways, it was more singer-songwriter and stripped down, so. Anyway, Springsteen's Human Touch and Bruce Springsteen's Lucky Town, number 34 and 33. Number 32, there's a bunch of records I don't have. I don't know what to do with that single, but... Stone Temple Pilots, Core, really I know it for the one song, Plush. That was just kind of like Lenny Kravitz's Are You Gonna Go My Way? That one song we were really known for, but never got around to really getting to the full record, though. But that one song, Plush, was everywhere, and there was like an acoustic version I remember hearing for a few years there, not just 92, 93, 94, 95. Stone Temple Pilots got known for that one song. They had a couple songs later that were bigger, but I think it might be their debut album, too. So, number 31, The Cure's Wish, which, the point that I heard this, I maybe heard a few Cure songs, but I really knew that. I knew Friday I'm in Love. I bought the CD single I've got around here somewhere. It's got High and A Letter to Elise were two of the other, hits. The Cure, it's like, I think of some of their songs, but that song, I forget that has got the lyrics, show me, show me, show me. It's not called Show, it's called something like True or something like that. But they're on previous records, and Robert Smith's voice has never done a lot for me. But this was the record I remember seeing and hearing about them the most. I didn't know that much about them, but anyway. The Cure's Wish at number 31. Alice in Chains, Dirt. Again, I think this might be a debut album. It wasn't a debut album, but it was their biggest album. And it had the song Wood, the last track with the question mark, which even like Enchant covered. And that's probably their biggest song still to this day. But I've never been into Alice in Chains, even though they were heavier than a lot of the grunge bands that were more metal or whatever. But this is their most well-known record, so I had to put it on the list. Weird Al Yankovic's, and 29, Weird Al Yankovic's Off the Deep End, which... among other parodies. Not too many of his well-known parodies, but of course the cover shows him basically mocking, mimicking, parodying the Nevermind Nirvana cover, and it's got the song Smells Like Nirvana where he's singing underwater. It's pretty funny, but I don't know this record for that many other tracks, though. A lot of his classic parodies were not on this record, but that's the one that people think of the most, I think, for it, hence the cover, so. Number 28, Screaming Trees, Sweet Oblivion. The song Nearly Lost You was a pretty massive hit. And, I mean, push come to shove, if I was wanting to appreciate grunge, Screaming Trees would be one of the bands I probably would lean toward if I'm not talking about the sort of progressive grunge stuff that, kind of, per se, or whatever, like King's X and Galactic Cowboys, or even like you could say like Big Wreck, even a little bit of the Tea Party. Some of these bands I'm maybe talking about in the '90s. I Mother Earth. But yeah, I mean that one song, "Nearly Lost You," I heard a ton of. I don't mind the singer either. I think I could be wrong, but Screaming Trees. One of the members from Screaming Trees ended up being in the Gutter Twins. I could be wrong, but anyway, 28, Screaming Trees, Sweet Oblivion. Anyway, 27 probably would have been higher, but some of their stuff has kind of bugged me. I've just Rage Against the Machines. This is I believe a debut album, the self-titled, which has Killing the Name Of and Bomb Track and a couple of other tracks. You know, I like parts of their music, but you know, I mean, I prefer Faith No More. I prefer System of a Down. There's bands that are doing a similar kind of like, you know, like rap rock, you know, or heavy kind of socio-political. I think I appreciate their message to some degree, and I was the age of like, you know, I'm the high school angsty teenager who's rebelling against society, and you know, I like listening to some gangster rap at that time too, of course, around that time, Public Enemy and NWA, and but I think they kind of went from sort of being the underdog to sort of being a little overhyped. I think it was actually later in their history, and so I just. You know, they were one of the progenitors, along with Faith No More to some degree, to nu metal, which is not something I typically like much of. Yeah, I mean, Freedom, the last track. Yeah, I mean, this album was everywhere for a couple of years there. You know, so anyway, Rage Against the Machine was higher originally on my list, but it's at number 27. Number 26. I didn't bother trying to track down my wife's copy, but a favorite of my wife, of many people who like her. This is probably her most significant record. She played it in town here. We missed it. She didn't know. My wife didn't know. But it's Katie Lang's Ingenue. It has probably her biggest song, Constant Craving. Great tune. Just, you know, well written. The harmonies. It's the message. The lyrics. Her voice sounds great on that track. There's a few other tracks on this. I mean, there's the great production. Ben Mink from FM, who also played on Rush's song Losing It, is on this, on a lot of it. Song like Miss Chatelaine. It's got a very romantic element, with accordion and violin and The Mind of Love. I think it might be a little bit low, but you know, I did see it live because she did play it live. We didn't go to that show, but they did I want to say like Austin City Limits or one of those shows on PBS they aired, and they aired it more than once, and they showed interviews with her and talking about Ingenue and everything. I don't know if it was like the 25th anniversary maybe. It came out in 92, so it would have been like 2017. I can't remember, not that long, it was only a few years ago. But yeah, Katie Lang's Ingenue, number 26. Alright, so I have a copy of this. This is not a standard. I'm still sort of... I got some stuff to show too, I forgot about that. Journey's Time box set. You know, I'm kind of into Journey. I can't remember if I think I got the Greatest Hits, which was one of the highest selling releases of all time on cassette tape. It's like I had to get more Journey, and so I got the box set, which, you know, it has a lot of their hits, of course. It has, I think, all the hits. You know, Don't Stop Believing and Wheel in the Sky and Any Way You Want It. But it has a lot of deeper tracks, so it's really a good, you know, box sets were a really big deal in the late 80s, early 90s. The Zeppelin one, which I never bought, but my friends growing up, going to school that first year of high school, played a lot of it. But yeah, so this was a kind of thing. I want to buy a box set. I don't know what Journey album to buy. Separate Ways, of course. I mean, it's got a lot of deeper tracks, and so, you know, I had to put it on here somewhere. Just to kind of pause in the rhythm. So that's number... I'm not that big of a Journey fan. The only thing I didn't even look at that. It doesn't have a lot of the early stuff. Yeah, actually it does. It does have Of a Lifetime, so it does include... I mean, I remember Cookie Duster and Nickel and Dime were two of the songs I really liked because they were like instrumental. They really sounded like Rush with proggy, but so it does include some of the early stuff that was the pre-Steve Perry stuff. But I was gonna show, just to kind of make up for... I found my copy. I have a copy of Union. I forgot Union, and I forgot We Can't Dance on the 91 list, which, you know, if I do this again, I'll have to include both of them. Even though I don't love Union, but here's my copy of Union from Yes. I don't have We Can't Dance, I don't believe, but We Can't Dance has a few songs I like. It would have been somewhere on my 91 list. It's got Driving the Spike and, of course, Fading Lights. A few others on there. And then I found my Renaissance compilations. I'm glad I didn't lose them and misplace them. Tales of 1000 Whites Volume 1, Tales of 1000 Whites Volume 2, which would have been the 1990 list. But anyway. Now back to your regular scheduled, you know, long-winded Album of the Year list. Let's see here. So I was at 25. That was Journey's Time Cubed box set. So number 24, Soul Asylum's Grave Dancers Union. Like Screaming Trees, like Alice in Chains, like Stone Temple Pilots, it was kind of, some of the hits were kind of shoved down my ears, especially living in Minnesota. They're from Minnesota, but it's a little bit better, not dramatically better. Some of those songs do hold up, actually, although they're not really talked about nearly as much. But songs like Runaway Train, Without a Trace, and Black Gold, they're decent songs. I don't hate them compared to some. I'd much rather listen to that than Nevermind or something else. So, but it was Soul Asylum's sort of commercial breakthrough, commercial albums. Really the only album that got really big. Grave Dancers Union, number 24. So number 23, Queen's Live at Wembley '86. You know, I know a lot of people revere this record. The performance is great. From a set list standpoint, it's not that amazing. They re-released it on like Freddie's 65th birthday in 2011, I think. I was reading on Wikipedia. And they included a second disc of some of their 70s stuff, some of the classics, like, of course, We Will Rock You and Bohemian Rhapsody. But it has Tie Your Mother Down, Seven Seas of Rye, and In the Lap of the Gods Revisited, at least. So, yeah, I mean, you know, this is right around the time Freddie passed away. And it's like, well, we're going to... I was thinking it was right around Live Aid, but it was like a year after Live Aid. But it was at Wembley, and they were one of, not the biggest band in the world at that time. But the set list is mostly the 80s stuff, which I like, but I don't like as much as the 70s stuff. Anyway. So number 23, Queen Live at Wembley '86. Number 22, Toto's Kingdom of Desire. I downloaded this a few years ago, I remember, and because a lot of people have been talking about how they love this Toto album, and I wasn't that well versed in the Toto catalog, and still am getting more familiar with it. But a lot of this is like, it's kind of hit and miss. A lot of it sounds very influenced by hair metal. You can sort of, it's like shred, you know, doing shred rock kind of in some ways. It's like a showcase for Lukather, I believe, what was for basically his guitar antics. I mean, it has a couple decent songs. It is the last album with Jeff Beccaro, and he stands out. There's one song called Wings of Time. Nothing to do with the NRG song, but it's pretty good. A song called Never Enough. Again, not the Dream Theater. Dream Theater wasn't influenced by it, but it has very good percussion from Jeff. Some of the singles are just kind of saccharine. Don't Chain My Heart. It's okay. I don't know if I follow why a lot of people love this record so much. In fact, I thought I saw someone post in Scott Lade's, in his one-off, like one album they like, this is the only album they like from Toto, which is weird, but anyway, Toto's Kingdom of Desire, number 22. Number 21, The Beastie Boys, Check Your Head. Songs like, I think Sabotage is on this, and then What You Want. What You Want we had, remember, it was everywhere for like a year, around that time, 92, 93. We made my senior year of high school for our basketball, opening like tape. I put Rush's Anthem and I put What You Want on there. So, remember if I had it or whatever, I had a cassette. My brother had it, or I borrowed someone's, or I got it off the radio maybe. Anyway, number 21, Beastie Boys, Check Your Head. Someone may have had it actually among my class actually. Number 20. The Black Crowes, The Southern Harmony and Musical Companion. I have to say that while I love the first Black Crowes record, Shake Your Money Maker, this record is actually bolded on Rate Your Music, and that one is not. And it's got a couple of hits. Remedy is the big hit. That song I was thinking actually was on that first record, but that sounds very reminiscent. The song Thorn in My Pride was also a hit. Smaller hit. It's more of a ballad. It's got nice pianos and keys at points. Brendan O'Brien engineered this, so the guy who'd worked with Pearl Jam and then King's X, of course, on Dog Man. A lot of it is very southern rock, though, and bluesy, so it's, I don't know, I guess this is one that could go up, but I put it up because before I really was kind of like drawing a blank, like I know that record, but what do I know besides those hits? So, I thought Shake Your Money Maker, they blended southern rock with blues rock and sort of Zeppelin kind of riffs. This is more rooted in blues and southern rock, hence the name, the Southern Harmony. Anyway, but it's probably better than the record after it, Amorica, that I know people did not like. Anyway, number 20. Number 19, Porcupine Tree is on the Sunday of Life. By most people's rankings, this is considered the worst Porcupine Tree record, and I don't necessarily disagree with that as much as I have reservations specifically about one record in the 2000s. It does have specifically two songs I think of, Jupiter Island and Radioactive Toy. I don't believe I have a copy of it on vinyl, because I mean, again, I thought I had it on CD and I couldn't even find it. Maybe they'll find it and show it later. But it's raw. I know they had that Seaweed Farm, something like that. Tarquin Seaweed Farm. They had like an EP and a demo before this. But this was still basically Steven Wilson's kind of, bedroom at-home project, among some other things he was doing. And he was trying to figure out what he wanted to do. And this one was a little more accessible, but yeah, it's psych pop. I know that the guys in Radical Research did a whole podcast on it, and they actually really praised it. But it's just it's not like it's bad. It's just you think about what they did after, and it's sort of unfairly compared. So number 19, Porcupine Tree on the Sunday of Life. All right, number 18. If I can find my copy, I had it right here. I thought I moved this up higher, but guess not. Archangels, the debut album, the self-titled debut album. They were doing a little bit of a southern rock too. It's a weird jewel case for this, because it wasn't a double. I put this in the wrong. I must have found it and then. It features two songs I think of first specifically. They were on the radio: "Living in a Dream" and "Sent by Angels." "Sent by Angels" is super poppy. It's a ballad, but these guys were kind of power pop, kind of power, southern rock a little bit. I mean, they weren't exactly like the Black Crowes, but at the same time, they weren't Jellyfish. It was sort of somewhere in between. They were more rooted in still bluesy kind of stuff. But the thing is, I guess they never made another record. At least Rate Your Music doesn't have anything else by them except this one record. But they were good. I mean, it's kind of a forgotten, and I guess Steve Van Zandt of, he wasn't with the E Street Band. He wasn't with Springsteen anymore, so what does he do? He produces the debut album from this band, Archangels. I want to say they're from Indiana. Yeah, so maybe that's what hurt them, why they didn't go on. They should have maybe gone to a bigger town or something like that. But yeah, I've always liked this record. I remember this specifically when it came out. I was like, I got to get that album from that band, Archangels. So anyway, Archangels, self-titled album, number 18. Number 17, this is kind of sort of confidence in that I saw this band at Nearfest in year 2000. I think it was 2000. Yeah. Thinking Plague, In This Life. This is their first bolded record on Rate Your Music. They're avant-garde, almost rock and opposition prog, but for whatever reason with them, a lot of their songs are minor keys and dissonant. They don't... There's some sort of continuity with their music that I've never been bugged by, even though people hated them at Nearfest. They were very polarized. Some people liked them and some people did not like them, but this is, by some people's token assessment, their best records. One of their best records, In This Life, from Thinking Plague. From Colorado, I mean, I'm very picky on whether I like very avant-garde stuff, but when avant-garde music is good, I really love it, and I kind of stick up for it. I know people have criticism for it. When I don't like it, I'm just kind of thinking it's a waste of time. But Thinking Plague, oddly enough, I'm not that versed in their whole catalog, but I've always felt like they're a band that I need to give more attention to, and they could have more fans. It's still limited, Time of Orchids, some of the bands on John Zorn's label. There's a lot of avant-garde music. I don't like Vandergraaf Generator very much, but anyway, number 17, Thinking Plagues, In This Life. So number 16, r.e.m's Automatic for the People. I guess it's their biggest album. Between this and the previous record, which I'm forgetting the name of right now, which I had in my 91 list, Out of Time. Kind of 1A and 1B, I mean, in some ways. Some of the songs on this got way overplayed that I don't love, but some of them I don't mind. I don't mind Man on the Moon, which is about Andy Kaufman. I don't know if it's around the time he died or whatever when they wrote it. Night Swimming's okay. The Sidewinder Sleeps Tonight. that's actually really catchy, even though it's a little kitschy, a little kind of twee with our Stipe's sort of you know, he's almost doing like a, you know, the lion sleeps tonight kind of thing. The song Drive is decent, and that song got played a lot. The songs like Everybody Hurts I'm sick of. So I mean it's kind of an uneven record for them. Money Got a Raw Deal. Is that the one? Yeah. It's got the kind of a bitter lyrical song. The line "You don't owe me anything," but I don't know. I like this album. I can sort of understand why it kind of got force fed to some of the music fans. Although I don't think it's so much anymore. But I don't know if I really appreciate it as much as maybe some of their other records. I didn't really spend time with their stuff from the '80s, which I should, like Murmur and Green. Anyway, so number 16, Automatic for the People from R.e.m. Number 15. All right, here's another record, sort of a little bit in the vein. I mean, I talked about Archangels a few minutes ago. Now, this is a band that's put out many albums since then, but this is their debut album. This is Dada. They're actually going to be playing here a week from Friday, and I'm probably not going to go because I can't get a seat and my back's going to be killing me. Dada's, this is called Puzzle, their debut album. I even have the cassette single. I was working at Sam Goody, Mall of America in the summer of '93 and bought this for the song Disneyland. Disneyland with the Dizzknee. Super catchy. It was it's a minor pop hit. These guys do have a lot of Jellyfish in them. If you're a Jellyfish fan and have never heard Dada, especially this album, you definitely would be beneficial to do that. A song like Dorina has a great riff. Kind of sounds like Babe I'm Gonna Leave You, like references that. Mary, Sunshine, Rain, Dim was another minor hit. I don't know if they had a cassette single for that. Who You Are is very guitar driven, blues rock, and the title track has the line "You don't want your money." You repeat it many times. You are your milk and honey. You don't want your money. Don't want your money. Your milk and honey. He says that many times. The singer, but yeah, I mean this is a very, I don't say polished, but there's the melodic sense and the power pop element in this really wins out for me. And it's enough. It's progressive in some elements, some sense. Even the write-up on First Avenue site for their show at the Fine Line next week mentions they had progressive leanings, even though they don't talk about like your obvious Yes, Pink Floyd, Rush kind of stuff. But Jellyfish is a pretty good comparison for Dada. Anyway, Dada's Puzzle, number 15. Number 14, Megadeth's Countdown to Extinction. Of course, this is the album that has Symphony of Destruction, the most well-known, most accessible, the most well-known Megadeth song probably. The line, "You just like the Pied Piper." My favorite parts, there's a few other parts on this album I like. Skin of My Teeth, but High Speed Dirt, which there was a guy named High Speed Kurt I knew on the message boards back on Mike Portnoy's forum. Psychotron has the comedy vocals. There's one other one on here. Sweating Bullets has comedy vocals. Where Mustaine, it's hard to like not laugh at the way he's singing and kind of trying to act all badass, but he's not growling. It almost reminds me of like a Pee Wee Herman, Beavis horror Tales from the Crypt Keeper kind of thing. This Was My Life has a really nice guitar solo. The last track, Ashes in Your Mouth, I mean, I think the Megadeth albums I listened to previously from the 80s and early 90s, like whatever it was, emphasize more thrash and speed. That's the one song on here that kind of brings back that kind of speed element. And it almost sounds like Mustaine's doing kind of some shrieks that sounded like would have influenced black metal. It's interesting on that one. Yeah, I understand, and this is it's the last bolded record on Rate Your Music. Why this is considered sort of, in some ways, the last, like, you know, excellent or great Megadeth album, Countdown to Extinction. So, number 14. Number 13, Ekelund's Suffocating the Bloom. Technically it's the second album, I guess, but some people list it as the debut. It features this, like, it's like an epic suite called, where is it? Oh, because it has part of that has a Mr. Oxymoron, which has the line "Too many Star Trekkers going to the same old sun," among other lines. Yeah, Winter Through is one of the better songs on here. It sounds kind of like Winter Tree from Renaissance, actually. There's a moment I thought. In Every Garden mentions the title of the album, Suffocating the Bloom. A Little Nonsense uses the same ending that Giraffe, that little sample, used. We Are the Music Makers. They used which sounds like Vincent Price. Here I Am has a really cool sax part, and it's very bass-driven. Bearing Down, totally busy and proggy, with horns at points. Yeah, there's this. The Suite is kind of hit and miss. I like this. I don't think I like it as much as the following record, which I'll talk about soon. But you know, Echolin. The problem is I struggle with wanting to. I want to love them. I like moments. Their vocalist sounds kind of like Maynard from Tool, but although he's still good, but he's still a pretty good singer. It's like sometimes they sound too prog for the sake of prog. They're doing some busy stuff. It just sounds like, you know, the predictable prog parts. Like when they're doing the Gentle Giant thing. But sometimes they actually find a melody or a part that works. So they're very kind of halfway there. I feel like the next record they did it better. But anyway, number 13. Number 12, Michael Nesmith's Tropical Campfires. It's a 13-year break. The previous record, Infinite Rider, had come out in 79. This album's not on Spotify, unfortunately, but songs like Yellow Butterfly, Laugh Kills Lonesome, very Latin. Moon Over the Rio Grande, very acoustic with pedal steel. You do have Red Roads, the Red Roads who've been with Mike since the beginning, like when his first solo records in the late 60s or early 70s when they came out. Was it late 60s? I forget, 69 was the first one maybe. Some of it's kind of Western, some piano, Begin the Begin. Brazil, sounds like he's singing in Portuguese. I'm in Love has hand drums. I am not's a great. Has the line. It references some pop culture. I am not the walrus. I am not the boss. I don't know if that was a Beatles and Springsteen thing he was trying to reference on that lyric. Twilight on the Trail has Red Roads. You know, it's kind of laid back. Tropical Campfires, hence, you know, it's actually ... Tropical Campfires ... Hence the name, but it works from a songwriting standpoint. It's some people consider it returning to his roots. Yeah, it resembles more of the early 70s stuff rather than the later stuff like on Infinite Rider where he was doing more rock-based stuff. But I find that the songs generally work pretty well. I love a lot of the instrumentation, not just Red Roads, but and some of the lyrics, like Nesmith's vocal parts in the lyrics work. My wife has it, of course, on CD. I don't know where it is. I don't believe it ever got issued on vinyl at this point. So, all right, number 11. The debut EP, which features a lot of songs that would end up on the full length. So it's kind of pulling a little bit of liberty because the full length's going to be featured. I can tell you that much. Angra's Reaching Horizon. Andre Matos formed this band. He was in Viper before that, of course. But this has early versions and demos of a lot of their, including a version of Wuthering Heights, which is fast. The speed version. But Carry On, Queen of the Night. Queen of the Night I don't think was on the debut album that came out live. This is technically an EP, Reaching Horizons. But Time, Angels Cry, Evil Warning. I mean, I'm a huge fan of this period of Angra, of course, so I have my bias. Of course, where's my CD? I don't know at this point. But yeah, you know, this has got just a lot of songs I love, and even hearing these versions, I had to include it somewhere. I mean, it's taking a little bit of liberty. But this is an official release. It was actually a cassette, and then later released on CD. The point that it was cassette, in 92, I didn't know who Angra was. I got into them a few years after that. So number 11, Reaching Horizons from Brazil, the band from Brazil, Angra, number 11. Number 10, so we see Psychotic Waltz again, their second album, Into the Everflow. This album was on Spotify. Several of their albums were on Spotify, and now they've all been pulled other than their most recent one, Into the Void. I wonder if the label did it. The label doesn't own the rights to the last album, Into the Void. But anyway, Into the Everflow, the second album from progressive technical metal band. A lot of good tracks on here. The production's better than on the debut album, I think, in some ways. Although I'm listening to remasters, so who can I be, you know? Ashes, let's see here. They reference Black Sabbath in there, I think. The title track gets slower and spacey at points. Some of Buddy screaming, like on Butterfly, sounds like late 80s, early 90s Fates Warning. Syncopated piano and guitar at points on that. The bridge. Reminds me a little bit of Sculptured. I wonder if Don Anderson was a fan of Psychotic Waltz, because I keep on hearing Sculptured in some of their music. Lots of time changes there on that. Let's see that specific track I'm referring to. The look at this bonus disc has tons of extra tracks. Freak Show Butterfly, I believe it is. But I listened to this like a week ago. But yeah, I mean it's good. I think push comes to shove, I don't know. I might prefer this over the first record. I mean, Psychotic Waltz again are a work in progress for me. What was the first record called again? I had it pretty high. I had it at the same spot at Social Grace. But anyway, yeah, I have this as part of a double remaster box that I bought, which will be featuring the other one eventually too here. So, Into the Everflow from Psychotic Waltz, number 10. Number 9. So I have this on both cassette tape and on... no, I only have it on cassette tape. I was thinking None Such from XTC. I listened to this cassette tape I got here. I don't know what the sticker tells what year it was. 2010. It was early 2010s probably. I rated it like 2017. I'm not sure. Maybe it was just sold in 2010. This of course follows up Oranges and Lemons, which is very top heavy, and then of course Skylarking. I always struggled with this record. It does have the first couple songs are kind of well known. Ballad of Peter Pumpkinhead, My Bird. You know, it's a long record. Part of the reason why I have some reservations about this record and why it might have gone a little higher, I don't like it as much as the two previous records, is because of the length. But I mean, the production is really good on it. It's pristine at points. Songs like Rook, was it Rook? Holly Up on Poppy, sounds like Magical Mystery Tours Beatles. Yeah, Rook reminds me of like Brian Scary, actually. I don't know if he was a fan of it. He probably was. Omnibus is really catchy. The Wave, it's really trippy. Then She Appeared has like a lyric that like, mentions Apple Venus, which of course Apple Venus is mentioned in a later, that's the name of the record that they put out like 10 years after this, with the different Apple Venus Volume 1 and 2. War Dance sounds like a Billy Joel's, kind of sounds like Billy Joel's Moving Out, actually. The sax part specifically, but Wrapped Up in Grey reminds me of the Beach Boys. Bungalow, piano reminds me of late 70s. I mean, I like this record. It's a pretty good record. I know people that love it. I think Steven Wilson did a remix of it. I just think that it's sort of long and it kind of goes in and out. It's like you listen, it's like I like that part, but it doesn't retain the memorability of it I struggle with that, unfortunately, but still it's a pretty good record. I mean, I like it more than some of the early XTC, which is more, you know, post-punk influence. Number 8. All right, so we see Mr. Peter Gabriel and Us, which I have the cassette here and then eventually bought the vinyl. Features 2 hits, you know, Steam, of course, and Digging in the Dirt. Digging in the Dirt is fantastic. I still am sick of that song, you know, like Sheryl Crow's version. The rest of it is sort of hit and miss, but the best, like, Come Talk to Me sounds like a faster version of Biko, which, you know, I have a little bit of reservations with Biko. I like that. I probably like that more than Biko. Only Us kind of crawls along mysteriously, but the up-tempo section in the middle works with, like, an African beat. Of course, that was Peter Gabriel's MO, using the African elements. Sounds like an oboe is used in it also. Washing of the Water, the second half is decent with the vocal lines and the horn. Kiss That Frog, it's got a cool rhythm, the keys and the horns. It's a good record. I mean, I can understand why people don't say this is the best Peter Gabriel album, but, you know, when I got into Peter Gabriel, my favorite album was Up, and I kind of still stand by that to a point. I might go with Melt, though, the third self-titled album over it, but I you know, between this and So, I think So is better beginning to end, but I think the best moments on this maybe are overall better. I'm not as sick of, I guess, although you could say that Steam sounds like it belongs on So. Like, sounds like Sledgehammer or Big Time in some ways, but anyway, Peter Gabriel's Us, number 8. Number 7, another favorite of mine, of course. We're in the top 10, of course. Saigon Kick's The Lizard. The Lizard. Which I still don't have the vinyl. They didn't have copies when I went. I tried to get it on Record Store Day and haven't been able to order it on Discogs. I need to do that. I like a lot of this album, though again, it's not my favorite Saigon Kick. I think it's the last one with, might be the last one with Matt Kramer. But, because I know Jason Bieler took over the lead vocals soon, at some point in the mid-90s. But it features Feel the Same Way, which was a huge hit. I still love that song. The fast vocals are good on that. The title track, Love Is On The Way, was a ballad that was kind of, it was one of their biggest hits, if not their biggest, actually. Cruelty, mostly instrumental guitar theme, Hostile Youth, Freedom, big machine gun riffs. The riffs on this are very good. I mean, they're very energetic, very kind of, they're badass. I mean, they weren't exactly prog, but you could tell they were maybe listening to a lot of like shredders, like Satriani or Vai or Yngwie Malmsteen, or even Steve Morse. The guitar riffs are really good on this. In some ways, that people like to work out to this record, The Lizard. Got a 42nd Street, very melodic ballad. It's very kind of trippy in some ways. Peppermint Tribe. The song Peppermint, is Peppermint Tribe on here? Yeah, Peppermint Tribe. The guitar riff almost sounds like something from the Smashing Pumpkins. Cherub Rock, I was reminded of. I was like, that sounds like Smashing Pumpkins. All I Want is also poppy. So I mean, it features a lot of pop, a lot of good guitar riffs, a lot of good energy, a lot of good songwriting. Then of course, Body Bags has the line, "Motherfucker, world goes round," kind of out of nowhere. It's like he just says that, but yeah, I mean, it's not like a lot of these records. It's not a short record. I think it has like 13 songs or something like that, as you can see. But yeah, I mean, if I was doing a Saigon Kick ranking, it's not my favorite record, but it might be second. Anyway, The Lizard from Saigon Kick, number 7. Number 6, now this one's kind of unknown, but I've mentioned this in comments before, speaking of XTC. The Spent Poets, self-titled debut album. They put out sort of an unofficial album after this, which I might include in the next year, whenever that was. I think it was 94. I love a lot of this record. It reminds me of a few different bands. XTC is the one I've always thought of, although listening to some XTC, it's just in subtle parts. Sort of the poppy, like psychedelic Beatles in some ways. The song, what is it? Someone's Beard. I'm gonna look for the name of it here. Walt Whitman's Beard. That's an earworm. Walt Whitman's Beard. I've had that earworm in my head for literally since I heard this album like 7 or 8 years ago. But it's very catchy. I mean, a lot of it's really catchy. Mr. Einstein, Dogtown was a single. Hello, anybody hear me at all? That has that line. It's a really nice organ part on that, on the Spent Poets debut album. Your Existential Past is super catchy with mandolin, kind of like r.e.m. in some ways. And let's see here. Yeah, the thing about Walt Whitman's Beard, it has this march that's also very infectious, and a great horn arrangement. Great horn arrangement and a great orchestral arrangement. The other notable thing about the Spent Poets, it's driven by, I don't know if it's how many people are in the band, but Adam Gates is the guy who's the main guy behind the singer, and there were a bunch of guys, I guess. Adam Gates would later join Primus, and he actually is in the Electric Apricot movie that Les Claypool did. So he's like a touring member. I don't know if he played on that many of the Primus albums, but he's been a touring member. Among other things, Adam Gates has been a touring member of Primus. So I don't know if he did the Rush thing with, maybe that would have been motivation to go see that. They were at Axel Anderson, they played all of Farewell to Kings. I just don't love Les Claypool doing a whole tribute to Rush necessarily, but in some ways it would have been cool to see Adam Gates if he's part of their band still. But the Spent Poets self-titled debut album, number 6. Alright, number 5. Here we go, the big cream of the crop. Faith No More's Angel Dust. Probably their most influential in some ways album, and their most sort of regarded by musicians. I don't prefer it over The Real Thing, but I still respect and like a lot of it. I wrote a novel here, so I don't know if I'm gonna get through this whole thing. Land of Sunshine, the funk element is great on this, of course. He does that opening track where Patton's doing the sing and rejoice. He's being very sarcastic. Sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice. And then he has the line, here's how to order. I love the way he kind of switches his kind of tone in his vocal style. As the line, that's interesting. Do you often sing or whistle for fun? You know, the comedy. Very circusy. Okay, so like a song like Caffeine has a driving riff. The groove is infectious. Flows with a back and forth with Patton's vocals. Big enough for truth. RV is a song I know people don't like it. That's like a crooner lounge piece that's really slow. But I find it kind of gives a nice break to the whole like kind of intense sort of genre-bending style that they use. Like, I know, you know, that's what Bungle did, but there's a difference between Faith No More and Mr. Bungle. And Faith No More still managed to make things accessible as much as they combined genres and did kind of, you know, ambitious stuff. Let's see here. I like some of the lines. No one speaks English anymore. The humor kind of adds to the charm. I ain't going to guzzle my tears, so kiss my ass, you know. Smaller and smaller. I always think of that one. The kind of the build up on that groove is great. Kindergarten, driving almost rap rock riff with the vocals. Later, there's some really pretty synths on it with distorted vocals and a groove riff led by the bass line and a guitar solo, which is really nice. Be Aggressive. It's comical because it has the cheerleaders and it has that sort of that it's really like a motif or just a main part of the song. Be aggressive, be, and then you just hear the cheerleaders and he's singing all kind of badass. It's a funny sort of schizophrenic combination. It's like that's not the right word. The word I'm looking for is like it's just they're two different styles. You wouldn't think you'd hear cheerleaders with sort of, you know, thrashy rock music. And let's see here, and then parts of this remind me. Oh yeah. That whole line, I swallow. The breakdown during the guitar solo gets proggy as hell. And okay, like Small Victory is poppy, and it's probably the most straightforward song on the album. Actually, it reminds me of something from Ocean Size, Everyone's Position. And you know, Mike Vernart was notable as a big fan of Patton and Faith No More, I believe. The line, you still won't hear, you still won't hear, you still won't hear. You just repeat it over. Crack Hitler has a funky groove to it with wah-wah pedals, very atmospheric synths. The synths are throughout this record. People think of Faith No More. They don't think of the synthesizers, but in the keys. They use keyboards pretty prominent. Not like Dream Theater, not like Rush, not like Marillion exactly, but they use them and they're part of their ensemble. Almost all the songs feature keyboards or piano or synthesizers. Jizzlobber, the ending with the organ is pretty ritualistic. And then they do the covers. They did this cover of Midnight Cowboy theme from the movie Midnight Cowboy. They covered that. Kind of reminds me of Call Florence Powell, so I'm sure Call Florence Powell, the guys probably knew Faith No More. And then the cover of John Barry's... Yeah, it was a John Barry piece. And then Easy, which I have right here. Easy, of course, is a cover of... It's a single they released for it, of the song from Lionel Richie, Easy Like Sunday Morning. So they covered Black Sabbath on with The Real Thing. So I mean, they'll do some Sabbath covers and they'll do Lionel Richie. Why is it weird? They have influences that run the gamut of styles. So number 5, Angel Dust, super ambitious, super like influential, important, and almost iconic record. I mean, the cover art itself is kind of iconic. So anyway, number 5. Number 4, we get it. We go with another kind of. This is my favorite record from this band, Extreme, 3 Sides to Every Story. Now, let's see here, if I can get through this. Warheads, Rest in Peace is catchy. Color Me Blind, very catchy, very energetic. Cupid's Dead, great groove on that track, the groove solo. The voiceover rap outro over the music. And then you have the Everything Under the Sun suite. This is where they really went into prog. The production... The studio tech trickery, the vocal layering and harmonies from... It wasn't just Sharon. Gary Sharon and Nuno. Nuno's the other singer. It's some of the best vocal harmonies ever written. You know, like I'll add Savatage on that list soon, but with Queen and like bands in the 2000s like Trios and Jellyfish. Some of the cello and the strings featured very Beatlesy on Rise and Shine, Part 2. Is it Rise and Shine? Rise and Shine. Yeah, it's Rise and Shine. And then on Part 2, which is Am I Ever Gonna Change? Has the line, am I ever going to change? Am I always going to stay the same? Am I the only one to blame? But then on Who Cares, the last part of that suite, that Everything Under the Sun suite, which is on side 4 of the vinyl. You can see. That part is the most epic part of the record. It reprises that part from Am I Ever Gonna Change, that melody or whatever, the vocal part. It's voiceover in Spanish. And, you know, the piano, it's a piano ballad really, but Who Cares is just gorgeous. Peacemaker, Die, the vocal harmony is another thing I like. They use MLK, I Have a Dream speech clips. Seven Sundays, another highlight of this album. Big vocal harmonies. Tragic comic. It's catchy with acoustic guitar. God Isn't Dead. You know, I mean, I like every track on this thing. It's weird because I'm not that into Pornography, the second one. I just think that they were ambitious. They were doing the progressive stuff. They were doing the 2D trickery. They had layer after layer, very much in the similar fashion that Jellyfish did, and they just hit it out of the park. Even though it still comes across a little bit like their sort of style of hair metal, but it's so catchy. It's the poppiness and the melodies, you know, offset any kind of cheese you might get from the hair metal to me, and that's why it really works. So, and Gary Cherone sounds great, and even Nuno sounds great. His voice sounds great. Number 3, that was number 4. Number 3, I had this in the wrong order. The self-titled debut album with the drum machine from Shadow Gallery, Pennsylvania's own. Prog metal stalwarts, Shadow Gallery. I love this record. I didn't like Shadow Gallery at first. I didn't like Mike Baker's voice. You know, it's like, oh, you like Dream Theater, you like this. And then his voice won me over, and it's like, it's not cheesy. He's just a really good singer. Queen of the City of Ice, the 17-minute epic that closed it, maybe is the highlight of the whole thing. But Dance of Fools, Darktown, Mystified, every one of those songs has these parts that I love. The piano parts, the guitar riffs. It's got Queensryche, it's got Queen, it's got Rush, it's got even Dream Theater to an extent. But the thing is, they weren't influenced by Dream Theater when they wrote this, because Dream Theater only had the one record on. They probably haven't even heard it. You know, I got addicted to this record. It even has the line, I just called to say I love you. I think it's on Mystified. You know, maybe Dance of Fools. The vocal harmonies are just through the roof. They're so, you know, they're so well written and placed, and it's just, there's like this dreamy element and like fantasy element. I think I'm listening to like Lord of the Rings, the album, in some ways. But it's prog, and it's prog metal, and it's just, the keyboards are just dreamy at points. I hear more Marillion than Dream Theater actually in some ways, but I love Shadow Galleries. It's my favorite Shadow Gallery album, the self-titled debut album, despite the drum machine. Someday I would love them to go back and re-record drums on those songs. Anyway, number 2, their self-titled 4th album from King's X, the final album they worked with Sam Taylor. Features many songs I love. My favorite probably still being Not Just for the Dead. Now, this version actually has Junior's Gone Wild, the song that was in the soundtrack to Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey that I showed in the 91 video. But Prisoner is great. The World Around Me, you hear that frequently in like the house music and stuff like that at shows. Big Picture, I like the effects. You know, it's similar to Faithful of Love in a lot of ways in terms of production and layering. They put all these different ideas, but I feel like they kind of perfected in some ways. So this album does not nearly mention as often as Faithful of Love. Black Flag was a minor hit. Beavis and Butthead even did a video reaction to it. Dreaming My Life, that's a Thai vocal song. Silent Wind. Lost in Germany, I forgot to mention, probably the catchiest song. And if you've never heard this album, just listen to Lost in Germany. That's the maybe the most accessible song that they ever wrote, actually, in some ways. It's just so catchy. They were in Germany on tour and they wrote the lyrics. It works so well from a sort of a lyrical and the sort of flow and rhythm and melody standpoint. Self-titled album, of course, See the Bread, See the Wine, the first album. You know, All the Same Planet has the song, is it King, I believe? Yeah, or no, Shot of Love, See the Bread, See the Wine. But anyway, love this record. Their first 4 records are just untouchable to me in a lot of ways. And what's number 1? What came out in 1992, of course? The breakthrough, album with James LaBrie, Dream Theater's, Images and Words. My favorite track on here is Learning to Live. That the song that never ends. It sounds like it's supposed to end but doesn't end. That the keyboard refrain that was first on Wait for Sleep. I love Metropolis Part 1 still. I mean, Another Day. Surrounded's always been I've had a soft spot for the keyboard parts in that. Sounds kind of, my friend thinks it sounds a little bit like Styx, but Take the Time has that groove. It uses the little rap samples from like Chuck D and like the fast vocals, like almost rapping. That's important. I talked about when he was working with LaBrie and met him, and he was having him listen to some rap. It's like, Pull Me Under, of course, is their one hit just of sorts. I know the David Prater, snare drum sound bugs a lot of people, and I'm kind of with that. In some ways, I almost would be curious to hear it without that drum trigger, the production on that that snare with the drum trigger. But it's a classic. One thing I'll say is Metropolis Part 1, I've always thought that riff that Petrucci plays, that do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do, I always think he's sort of saying, "Come on here, motherfucker," I don't know if anyone's ever pointed this out in the Dream Theater fandom and the lore, and it's like, what was behind that opening riff of Metropolis? It's iconic. It's the face of progressive metal in a lot of ways. It kind of, even though it wasn't the first progressive metal album, it kind of is the first album people think of when they describe progressive metal. It was for the longest time. And, in some ways, it kind of made me a fan. I mean, when Dream of New Unite, at one point, I kind of almost preferred, because I liked Charlie Dominici's voice a little bit more over LaBrie's, but, yeah, still, fantastic record, 5 stars, because I have so much nostalgia, and I see it as from a composition standpoint, perfectly written. So, that's my list from 1992. What's your list? Christian will give me the 25 I'm missing or more, probably. I don't know, 93, again, a lot of stuff to look forward to in 93. I'll get to it when I get to it. But thank you for watching. I got Pepe Deluxe coming up this week. I want to do a calendar update or a review, so that's what I want to catch up on. Because I would guess, 93 won't be this week, probably next week. But I'm not working tomorrow, so I'm not sure. So I have some time to do stuff. But thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.